Hey everyone, time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please give it a like and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, Radio Public, and Spotify so that you can get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music and our patrons, Demon Hunter 2, Electric Water Boy, Aggie Jedi Master, Antaeus, Joshua the Geocaching Vlogger, Nick at Cashley, One Kind Word, Butterfly Girl, Loon Trackers, the Aussie Geocacher, Sodak Zach, the Deadliest Cachers, Terrell 2, Neil Moore, Team D&D, Geocaching Adam, Peachy 1276, the No Code Geocachers, Curiosity Girl, Tick Magnet, Marsipanic, Bricker John, Firesafe, FS Sabero, Geo Rick, Cash Ad, Geocaching Janji, the Geocaching Junkie, Sir Drumalot, Janice, Tricasius, Tom Frey, Rugels, the Bruce Zero, EGK, PBR, Casamaya, Master Sergeant, USMC, Little Gears, Albedo, 0.39, It's Only Barney, Purple Turtles 3, ACDC Family, Rock On ACDC Family, None of It Tidy, AFK Geocaching, and one of them is in the chat room, so beware. Josh Boggs, Carrot Killer, Korsgat, Geocaching with Lampe. That's our friend from France. Bren Tim 07, Dave and Karen of Cache Canada. Team Tailwagger. I guess I messed it up. Team Tailwagger. Black Chrome, Super Nate, and they are coming back from their trip to Belize. So pretty excited to see all their photos and stuff from their trip. The Twonky, Burnt Turtles, Padib, Kazelli, and our new patrons, Dragon, Gunter Hunters, Acme Wild Cachers, Lauren Pearson, and ADK Sarah. If you'd like to become a patron, head over to Patreon, Patreon, in case you're wondering, patreon.com/geocache talk. For more details, patrons get X tags, and I got some show and tell tonight. That's the X tag, in case you're wondering. That's the X tags, coins, and I'm now going to reveal the brand new Geocache Talk, never before shown to anyone except for the
year patrons.
Year 2, yep. Jesse's correct. And here it is. It's the Blackout Geocoin.
Cool.
Ooh. Isn't that cool? Ooh, cool.
I like that one.
Isn't that cool looking? I like it. Very different. That's really Jesse's. That was Jesse's. So hats off to you, Jesse. I was like, I don't know if it's going to look right. And he goes, yep, that's going to look perfect. It's going to be perfect.
You haven't mentioned the best part about it yet. It's just a big tease again.
What's the big tease part, Demis?
Because
it's only
pretty much
it's only for patrons?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It teases everybody, but now you're going to wait and tell them that only patrons get it.
Yeah, sorry. Only if you want one of these cool coins, you can become a patron. Patrons also get other geocaching items during the year, bonus content. We've done some bonus shows recently, invites to special events only for patrons, and support levels start at as little as $3 a month. Well, let me welcome my co-host, Jesse.
Good evening. I'm glad I'm here, and I actually made it. I've been doing a lot of traveling this week, so I was sweating it. I'm sweating it for the next 3 weeks on travel because it happens to coincide with the weekend. So I made it in time for the show tonight, though. So I'll probably be in the field next week.
Yep, that's cool. Wyoming, right? Gonna be probably in Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming next week, and then South Dakota after that.
South Dakota after that. Very cool. So let's jump right into show 105 for July 1st as we welcome back to the show Ryan Semmel, and he has a guest with us, Joanne Coburn.
Hello, Joanne Van Coburn.
Van Coburn. See, yeah. I got to get it right. Joanne. See, I knew I was going to get it wrong, but that's okay. We're fixing it right now. Joanne Van Coburn, and And Ryan is back on the show once again. We've been on before, so that's cool. We talked to Moga, I think.
Yes, a little over a year ago.
Yep, that was a great. We Jesse and I, we really love that Moga because somebody won the Moga Cup. I don't know who that was.
I don't know who that was.
You know how competitions are. Can't help it.
Exactly. All right, we got a big show tonight. We're going to get right into the news, and this week started Fantastic Creatures promo that they were doing. Started this week. Jesse's quite a ways in, I think. How far along are you? You're at Mermaid.
Yeah, just at Mermaid. I was, like I said, I was in Ohio this week, so I got to travel out there. But it wasn't a geocaching trip. This one wasn't. It was going to visit my brand new niece and other nephew and niece that are out there. And
cool.
it was awesome. So I was hanging out with them. But we got out and did a little bit of geocaching. But I was able to get about 11. So I'm at Mermaid now, including a webcam.
Excellent webcam, baby.
One of the new virtual awards put out by K-Blast. And it was really cool. And I won't go into the whole thing, and I won't give anything away on this one in case people are listening to it. But you went to a location, like a virtual does, right? You go to a location. This was a 3-stage, or actually a little bit more than that, but 3 locations. And you got to the location. Instead of phone a friend, it was text a friend. So you texted the answer at the location, and it would text you back whether you got it right.
That's
and
cool.
What the information for the next stage in question was. And you go to the next stage. It was like 3 different veterans memorials in town. So I have no idea how that was set up in the background. I know it was something. I got that. But it was very cool that, you text it in, and then you're sitting there waiting for a second. It only took 2 or 3 seconds. But if you didn't get it right, it didn't answer you. Only if you got it right, did it text you back. So
that's awesome.
It's one of the new virtual awards, and I think it's got like 70-something favorite points already. I mean, it's something insane for just being out a short period of time. So it was very cool. And an event. And I got to go to an event. We're looking at the area, and I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to go cashing because I was going to drag them around with a brand new baby, right? Cashing. Right. And I look at the thing, and there's an event in the same little town that I'm in. So awesome. I say little town, it's a good sized town, but it's not like a major. It was outside of Columbus,
and there was an event.
It was just K-Blast, and their monthly event was up there. So I got to meet a few other people too, and there just happened to be a competition there while I was there for this event. So I was like, I'll probably stop by for that then.
We'll stop.
It was like a cool card stacking competition. So all these groups are in there stacking cards. So you can stack them the highest to the ceiling and stuff. It was a lot of fun. But we won a prize, so that was great. So the little ones were loving that. But that was a great one. So having said all that, we got to end up getting like 11 caches or whatever, including some gadget caches and some really cool ones that were there, and got to Mermaid so far.
That's awesome. Yeah, what a great trip. And that's the kind of virtual reward that we've been talking about, right, Jesse? That's the kind of thing we want to see.
Ones that you want to brag about. That's the reason to bring them back right there. Because it was creative. It was fun. It was at a war memorial. I mean, it's hard to it's hard to go wrong with that. But also, I want to mention, so I just happened to just flippantly mention on Instagram when I was getting in town, hey, I'm in Ohio, just landing, visiting family, whatever. And so many cool people that interact through this show and everything else sent me messages. Hey, if you have time, I was like, I'm going to be with kids. They're like, here's some good ones for kids. I didn't have to go research anything or anything. It was, they were just blasting me GC codes saying, here's a cool picture. This is a cool gadget cache. This is kid friendly. That was great. That the community we have like that just kicked in automatically. And I didn't even know where everybody was. They just started sending them to me. So it was great.
Right. That is
hard to beat that.
It is amazing. Yeah. You go to some place and boom, somebody can tell you exactly. Go, we recommend this cache. Yeah. Love our
They were absolutely right. The kids that were with me, my nephew and niece, they loved it. It wasn't like a regular pill bottle in a bush. It was like a Star Wars themed gadget cache in a park. It was awesome. So
awesome. Perfect.
It was great. It's a great trip for a non-geocaching trip, right?
Right. It was sort of like a perfect combo trip. So quick mention for our Canadian friends, happy Canada Day. Hopefully you got out and got some geocaches and
Got some Canadians in the chat room.
and then do whatever you normally do on Canada Day. I tried to do some.
Go to Tim Hortons.
Get some Timbits. So,
Yes, sir.
all right. So, and then virtual rewards. Jesse, give us a virtual rewards update.
Including the one I just did.
Right.
Up to 1679. So we're not getting super high, but we'll probably still make 2,000. I don't think we're going to make the 3,000 that I guessed.
Yeah,
we're July now, so it's July. We only have this month pretty much. So,
I know. Well, this will be interesting though, Jesse. I'm wondering what's going to happen because they could easily come back and go, okay, well, we're going to extend it 4 months or 3 months. I don't know.
I don't think they will.
You don't think they will, Ryan?
Yeah, I don't either. I'm with Ryan. I don't think so. Because they've also got ARs going right now and another promotion too.
Yeah. What are you going to say, Ryan?
They gave him a year.
So. Yeah, they gave him a year. They gave me a year, and I'm surprised we're only going to get half of them because they put out they provided 4,000. It looks like we're going to get about 2,000. So, I mean,
4,500
is what they should put out. You think?
I think we'll get about 2,500.
2,500. Okay.
I think you have a lot of late bloomers that's going to put them out right before we're done.
Yeah, you're right. We're going to get a flood right toward the end. They're going to be like, no, wait a minute. I got to get mine in. It's like, okay, so. All right.
You know it's going to happen, though. You know the reviewers are dreading that, too.
Yes. You know they're going to do that. All right. Well, tonight we're going to talk about the National Trails System Act that was in 1968. So we're the 50th anniversary. We're going to talk about the National Trail System, and then we're also going to talk about the Santa Fe Geo Trail. But first, we'll talk about the National Trail System Act of 1968. As amended, called for establishing trails in both. This is kind of interesting. I didn't realize this till I put the little blurb in here. In both urban and rural settings for people of all ages, interests, skills, and physical abilities. The act promotes the enjoyment and appreciation of trails while encouraging greater public access. It establishes 4 classes of trails: National Scenic Trails, National Historic Trails, National Recreation Trails, and what they called side or connecting trails. So, Joanne's with us tonight, as well as Ryan, to tell us a little bit about the trail system. So, I guess we're going to let you guys take it away and kind of tell us how you got involved maybe first, and then kind of tell us how the trail system as a whole, how you feel like it's gone for these 50 years. It's kind of broad, but
we haven't been around for 50 years for there.
No, tell us how. Tell us what it began. I've been around for the whole thing, but I was pretty young when they started it. So, but anyway, we will talk about the whole 50 years. But tell us about how you got involved in it.
Well, I lived the 60s, so yeah, I was there.
There you go. Way to go, Joanne.
When I was a child, I was raised along the Santa Fe Trail. So that's my area of expertise. I am currently the manager for the Santa Fe Trail Association, and we work in partnership with the National Park Service, who administers the National Historic Trail.
Okay,
and
cool.
All of our organizations, all the National Historic Trails and the Scenic Trails, we have an umbrella organization known as the Partnership for the National Trail System, PNTS. And they're the ones that are really pushing this 50th anniversary. They're helping us with a lot of the background work, and they're hosting the website, trails50.org. And they're the ones that are providing all the information to all the various groups.
Very cool.
The Santa Fe became a National Historic Trail in 1987.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
I just learned this last week. This will be interesting for folks in Colorado.
Yes.
Zebulon Pike's Trail. The Pike Trail is your senators from Colorado have put that into Congress to do a feasibility study to maybe have that come in and be another national historic trail. And
Very cool.
that would be very good for both Colorado and the Santa Fe Trail, because some of that trail overlaps directly onto the Santa Fe Trail. So,
Where is that? Where would that roughly be, Joanne? Where's? I mean, obviously Pikes Peak. You said is part of it, or
well, that's part of it, but it comes in from Oklahoma and Arkansas, and then it comes up into Kansas, goes up to Nebraska to the Pawnee Village, and then comes back down.
oh,
And
okay,
it goes out to like past La Junta, Colorado, and up to Pueblo, and then into the mountains. And then that's where they meet up with some people in a different country that, you know, at that time, Spain was in charge.
mm-hmm.
And so then they went down to Santa Fe under arrest.
Oh, okay,
So, but
very cool.
yeah, so that trail would be a nice long trail and a lot of history with it. 1806 is when Zeb was out here doing his thing. So,
Oh, wow, that is really cool.
yeah.
So, and this is something I didn't realize is the number of trails there's quite a few. There are, and if
They're
the
broken
notes I have,
too.
go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Ryan. What was that?
You got your national, the scenic trails, which you
Right.
got 11 of those. And
Yep.
then, as she was talking here with the historical trails,
Right.
right now there's 19 of them. But
Right.
as she says, we're always adding new. For geocachers, one of the big parts is this is all open land, as long as you get permissions from the National Park Services, which we know is sometimes a challenge. But there's actually a total of 4 Geo Tours that are on these different historical trails.
Which is cool. I didn't realize there were 4. I knew the Santa Fe one, which we're going to focus on later tonight. But tell us about the other 3, if you would, Ryan.
Yeah, the other ones are all over in the East Coast. You have the Star Spangled Banner National Historical Trail, which is GT9. They got 24 geocaches on that one.
Okay.
So it's a nice little one for those who like to do it. You also have GT7, which is a total of 37 caches.
Ooh, that's not bad.
We're gaining a little bit.
Now, where is that one?
Let me look again.
It's all right. I can look up GT7 too.
It's the Star. GT7 was.
It's all right. I'll look it up too.
Yeah, it's hiding on me now.
That's okay. I'll look it up while we're talking.
That's the Captain John Smith Chesapeake National Trail.
GT7.
So again, it's over on the East Coast.
GT7. Hang on a second. Let me. Let me put in 7. Okay.
After 6.
Yeah. Well, when I put it in, it came up as I hit the ampersand, but okay. Very interesting. You can't look at it those ways. Let me look into the thing. Okay. All right. What was the third one?
And I was actually mistaken. The other one's actually a challenge. It's not a Geo Tour.
Oh, okay. That's still
the Pony Express Challenge out of St. Joseph, Missouri.
Oh, okay, cool.
And that one is a challenge. Takes you across the whole Pony Express, which comes out west. And then, of course, well, we're here is GT34, which is Santa Fe Trails Geo Tour, which only has a couple geocaches on it.
No, it has quite a few on it.
It's a little short trail.
Just a little short one.
Right. So,
like an afternoon drive.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's GT34. That's the Santa Fe one, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
yep,
that one's.
And almost from doing the research of the different trails, almost every trail has a geocache somewhere along it that's named for it. You also have, I'm going to mess the name up. I know the Washington.
Rochambeau.
the Washington Rochambeau. That's what we.
There you go.
It's a revolutionary route national trail. It's actually a national park sponsored geocache for that one. So national parks has really jumped up on board with these different trails and tours. And that's one of the reasons I've met Joanne is the partnership that the national parks have gone out to reach out through geocaching, saying, hey, this is a activity that can join these two groups together.
Right.
Because Joanne can tell you she never heard of geocaching before. And they jumped out and says, hey, let's do this geocache.
Sure.
Exactly.
And it brings a different group. Back before geocaching, most people who came to these different trail sites were a lot older than your average group.
Sure.
I'll say it nicely. It's the historical buffs, which I love history myself, and
me too.
What brings me into even the hobby that we're in. And geocaching brings all these people of all ages. Children, adults, grandparents, parents, everybody comes through geocaching to these tours. So celebrating the 50 years of this act, it really sheds light on all of it. And that's why when they came up to Joanne at the end of last year, one of the first people I think she called was myself and the other people involved with geocaching, saying, hey, can we work on this? And then the other chapters throughout the Santa Fe Trail to bring everything together to try and celebrate this 50 years. Because it's 50 years is a big thing. We know with the government, things change all the time. And being back for 50 years is definitely something to celebrate.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is a great partnership to be having too, because even a few years ago, you know, or at least when I started in geocaching, you thought of national parks and national trails as totally off limits for any geocaching stuff. You thought there was no chance of a partnership, and now you see this more and more. The park system is really stepping up and bridging that gap, and geocachers are working together close with them now. That's great to see, to get more people out on the trails.
Yeah. We have 4 different units on our Santa Fe National Historic Trail. We have Fort Larned, we have Fort Union in New Mexico, we have Benzold Fort in Colorado, and then we have Pecos near Santa Fe. And each one of those has allowed us to put a geocache there. And all 4 of them get really good reviews and logs because people are really excited to come into the park. And then it serves a dual purpose because once they're there, they often stay and tour those parks.
Yeah,
definitely. So one thing I want to ask you, Joanne, and I'm going to switch so people can kind of see. So I'm going to screen share. So let me do that. And so, Joanne, I've got pulled up, of course, the SantaFeTrail.org website because I got some. I want to ask you a couple things, if I may. One thing that I think is really cool and get your feedback on is the fact that the Santa Fe Trail Association, there's a lot of cool things that you guys are involved with. And then, of course, you've got right here geocaching has been added into the mix. How is that really enhanced? I guess something that the association is already, the association has so many cool things that they're doing with the trails and the history. How has this sort of has it fit in well? And if it has, what are your thoughts on adding this with the Trail Association?
One of our longtime members, one of our founding members, described it this way. He said, and he's one of the best scholars on the Santa Fe Trail. His name is Dr. Mike Olson, and he said this is probably the best thing as far as a project that the Santa Fe Trail Association has done in order to bring new users to the Santa Fe Trail, because it's a whole different demographic than what we were working with before. Like Ryan said, our primary membership is probably made up of people 50 years and older. It seems like a lot of people don't really jump into history, or at least into organizations such as a nonprofit like ours, until they get near retirement or empty nesters. By having this Geo Tour, it has brought in a wide variety of people, and especially a variety of age groups. And what we really like about it is this is something that grandparents can take their kids out to do, and some of them can share their passion for history or these sites that they take them to and get them involved. And it's been very positive. We've really enjoyed reading the logs that people give us. And the logs, I have to comment on that. Those are so very helpful to us, because I live in Salina, Kansas, and this tour goes from Franklin, Missouri, all the way to Santa Fe, and then also all the way through southeastern Colorado. So I need to hear from everybody, you know, when we need to repair, or, you know, when one gets stolen. And as soon as we read those logs, then we can alert the troops that are throughout our 12 chapter areas and get it corrected. But if people didn't give us those logs and that information, it might be a few months before I travel through there and stop in and check, or we send Ryan out.
That's right.
Yeah. So those logs are very, very helpful. I hope everybody that does geocaching or geo tours does take the time to do those logs, because it is very helpful to those of us that set these.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we forget that when you're putting a log on, especially when you're doing a geo tour and you're putting you're writing your log, it's not just for the next geocacher. It's something that can really help, like you said, especially for this one, because this geo tour is very unique. I mean, I'm showing, you know, the two, you talk about, you start over in Missouri, right? And then it goes through Kansas. I mean, you're crossing states. I mean, we're crossing 5 states. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And so, you know, you're going all the way out to New Mexico. And so, you know, especially something like this geo tour, I mean, it's invaluable to have the folks who can tell you, you know, oh, this cache, well, and there could be in different, like you said, Joanne, they could be in various stages. Cache is fine, log is fine, or it could be like, this cache is worse for wear, it's broken, it's, you know, it's got, so
logbook is wet.
Yeah, logbook's wet, or logbook is full.
Right,
or,
that's a good one. Yeah.
Or I like the one we talked about before the show, is there's a snake on the geocache.
Yes, has happened.
So, yeah. So somebody's written, I guess, was that a cache log?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Somebody goes, yeah, there's a snake right here.
Yeah, wait till he slithers away. And then the other thing that I really like is every once in a while, I'll get to interact with someone who's logged and they've asked a specific question. And so then I can message them back and we can interact. And then some of the very, very best experiences are when I'm out checking these caches, or my husband is along with me, who is pack mule number 1.
Oh, cool. I love it.
We were recently in the Plaza Hotel and they were looking for the cache out there. And this family was looking and looking and they finally found it. And they were just shocked when my husband walked up and said who he was, that he helped set these caches and that we were there checking them. And we took him to the car and gave him some extra swag. And it was a great experience. I love running into these cachers and learning their story and what brought them to the trail.
Oh, that is cool.
Do you partner with a bunch of local cachers? And we're going to talk about the length of this trail, but because you can't be everywhere at one time, right? Do you have a group of people going out there? Or do you just go to every single one yourself?
Both. We have 12 chapters along the Santa Fe Trail, and with each chapter, they have a specific area that they cover. For example, in the Kansas City area, we have the Missouri River Outfitters chapter, and we have 2 or 3 people from that group that they will go out, and they are probably the busiest as far as checking, because the ones in Kansas City area, we've got a little bit of trouble every now and then, especially like Cave Springs and there's a couple of other places that we have to really keep an eye on. So when we hear that there's a need, then I email them and say, can you go check on this? And then they tell me what kind of maintenance it needs, like if they need a new container or if we need to switch types of containers. But at least probably twice a year, I probably visit all of them. And the reason I do that is because I'm traveling for other parts of my job. You know, like I'll be going to a meeting or an event or a conference or something. So while I'm going, I will stop and check on all these caches.
Very cool.
Yep. Let's back up a moment and talk for a moment about in doing some research. I was surprised to see that, because a lot of people go, "Oh, National Historic Trail." Well, I'm not near one. There's the Appalachian or the whatever, but there's actually there's trails all over, especially the recreational trails. There's like over 1,000 in all 50 states. So talk a little bit first about the let's talk a little bit about the National Scenic Trails. That's a little different. There's like 11 of those, right? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. What sort of designates a scenic trail? The Appalachian Trail is one of them, but is there anything in particular that?
With all of these trails, there's specific guidelines for each one. They have to fulfill, and it isn't a simple thing to become a national scenic or historic trail. The first thing you have to do is you have to get a huge group of people to write letters of support for these trails, and then they go to the Congress. This is literally an act of Congress, and it's several years. Once the senators put it in and everybody votes on this and they pass it in the legislature, then they say to the National Park Service to do a study, and they call this a feasibility study. And this is a very important part of this, because you always have a group that are worried about private property rights versus public rights. And this so far has been a very, very good system where everybody has benefited, and we haven't had too many problems with it. So once the Park Service does their feasibility study, they will go around throughout all the communities where this trail will go, and they will collect the data. For example, they did a feasibility study on the Long Walk, which is for the Navajo when they were removed. It's similar to the Trail of Tears.
Similar to it.
Yes, and they, at the end of this, they decided that this would not be a good trail to become a National Historic Trail. And the reason was because the Navajo people themselves did not want that. And it was kind of divided between the older segment and the younger segment in the Navajo. The younger people were good with it, but the older people felt like those times are past. We don't want to relive it. We don't want to go back there. It was a bad time for them, and they didn't want to bring attention to it. So that trail was recommended not to include, and it hasn't gone any further. So not every trail that we think might be great, not every trail makes it.
There's some that are really and there's some that are really cool. I'm gonna do another quick screen share because I want people to realize where some of these are.
So these trails are the really long ones, like you think about, like from the movie Wild.
Yes,
where they're hiking the straight through all the way through PCT or whatever. Which one that was?
The Appalachian National Trail is one of the scenic trails.
Pacific Crest, the Continental Divide, which goes all the way through Colorado, Arizona Trail. All of those are Ice Age Trail.
And I know somebody in the chat room was talking about the Florida National Scenic Trail is one.
Yeah, I was looking at those. So here's the list as we can go through these. Like the Appalachian, we're most people
2,100 miles.
I know that great.
I'd love to hike that. That'd be great.
Georgia to Maine. But the Arizona Trail. This one's a little more, maybe 800 miles from Mexico through to Arizona-Utah border. But there's the Continental Divide Trail, I don't know if you've seen signs for this, Jesse, but
Mm-hmm.
they have they have their own special signs that they can put up for these.
Yeah, I'm familiar with a few of these. I'd really love to hike one of them one day.
Yeah, because there's the Florida Trail one you're talking about. It makes its way from Big Cypress National Preserve in southern Florida. Yeah, the Gulf Islands National Seashore and the Panhandle. Ice Age Trail you mentioned, Joanne, was this one's kind of cool. Covers much of Wisconsin during the Ice Age. Sturgeon Bay, Door County to St. Croix Falls, Polk County is kind of what that covers. Ice Age Trail, the Natchez Trace Trail.
Mm-hmm.
This one's cool. And then there's one called the New England Trail, 215 miles, pretty cool. And there's one called the North Country Trail. Leads through 7 states: New York, North Dakota. The North Country Trail is the longest continuous trail in the U.S. So very cool on that. Now, if we can, let's switch again. We got a lot to cover tonight, but the National Historic Trails, and we're going to talk about one major one in a little bit, but there's this one, a la Kahaki.
You know me, I'm not good with names, so I'm not even going to try.
It's in Hawaii. I was waiting for somebody to correct me, which that's okay.
Oh, Gary, we like when you pronounce them.
Yeah, I know. Leave me twisting in the wind. I love it. This one's in Hawaii. Very cool. 175 miles through hundreds of ancient Hawaiian settlement sites. The California National Historic Trail, another very cool thing. Between the Missouri River and California, following the footsteps through search of gold, farmland areas, California. This is the one you mentioned earlier, Ryan, the Captain John Smith Chesapeake National Historic Trail.
GT7.
That's that one. Okay, cool. Yep. This one's neat. This is down my way. El Camino Real de los Tejas National Historic Trail.
Yeah, good.
Yep. There you go. See, Rio Grande, from the Rio Grande in Texas to the Red River Valley in Louisiana during the Spanish colonial period. That's down my way. I could it's in the Zapata. I've been in
Just
Zapata.
go do it Saturday.
Okay, I'll do that. The cool thing about this one and a lot of these trails is if you kind of do what Super Nate and doing the traveling, is you can catch a lot of counties. You can kind of catch, you do a little county trail. You can sort of gobble up some of your counties that you want to catch. Another one, El Camino Real de Tierra Adentro.
Very good.
Thank you.
This is kind of a unique one because we consider it one of our sister trails. The Santa Fe Trail goes to Santa Fe.
Mm-hmm.
Camino Real goes from Santa Fe down into Mexico. There's a couple of places in the United States where you have a cluster of these historic trails. One is the Kansas City area. The other is Santa Fe. The third one, that historic trail that leaves Santa Fe, is the Old Spanish Trail.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Yeah, this one's, boy, another one you could, if you plan ahead. I mean, there you go, Jesse, 1,200 miles from New Mexico to Mexico City.
Oh, you better believe it. I'd love to have the time to go do it.
And so Common Bud knows it is not the Trail of Cars. That is not the same El Camino.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
Not the Trail of Tears or the Trail of Cars. This is different. Oh, wow. Iditarod.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
That would be an intense one.
Wouldn't it? That'd be awesome, though. I mean, just
2,300 miles across Alaska.
Boy,
that might be intense.
That's intense. That's where they
run that race, isn't it? The dog sled race.
Yeah.
Got a kid ready to go. Let's go.
That's right.
Well, but the cool thing about these probably is you could do a portion of them, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Kind of plan ahead and do part of the Juan Bautista de Anza National Historic Trail. This is kind of cool one too.
And I think the more that we, that end up incorporating Geo Tours and things like that, you're going to get like you mentioned earlier, a completely different demographic wanting to go out and check these things out that you wouldn't from before.
Right. Absolutely.
Get more people of more ages involved, at least being familiar with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they don't go do them, they're at least familiar that they exist.
That's correct. We get people that, even people who live right next to the Santa Fe Trail will say, I knew it was here. I knew it was there all my life, and I never went out and visited. And then they went out and visited, and they were shocked of the history that took place in their backyard. And the same thing is true for people who travel. We had one person who flew into Denver, rented a van, and then drove down to Santa Fe and followed the trail all the way back to Franklin, Missouri. And
Wow.
They did this as their family vacation, and it was wonderful following those logs as they went back there. But they told us how they learned so much about the trail, because when we set these, we didn't want to make them so darn hard that people couldn't find them. Our goal was to bring them to the trail and share the history. So when they visit each one about the history, and then a lot of these places also are sites that or tours or living history. So, and that's could be true on these other historic trails too. I wish more would consider it. I know that the Oregon-California Trail talked about doing it, but they didn't go ahead and do it. I wish someone would encourage them. I would say what it takes is people with geocaching ability to help them, because when we started ours, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I thank God for those reviewers. They were
So, like you're saying, Joanne, maybe this is the octa-trails.org. Maybe that if people live in that area who are passionate about this, they could probably maybe contact some of the folks there and see if they could maybe come alongside and maybe help them or give them more information, help them with the possibility of adding a tour along their
This
trail.
is another one of our sister trails, because it's also in the Kansas City area. The Oregon-California Trail and the Lewis and Clark Trail is also in that area.
Right.
So Kansas City has a lot to offer as far as historic trails.
Oh, okay.
And as a side note, we're working with the various cities throughout Kansas City, as well as Missouri and Kansas. So 2 different states, several counties, several different cities, and we're working with them to encourage hiking trails along the National Historic Trails, and the National Park Service is providing signage for that. And when everything is done and in place, you'll be able to start hiking at the Missouri River and go all the way to Gardner, Kansas.
Wow. Very cool.
And all of that will take you right through the city and will be right next to the historic trails. So it's a Metro Kansas City project. They call it the 3 Trails Corridor Project. And they've really supported that. And we're hoping as it evolves more that we'll be able to do some more geocaches along those sites as well.
Oh, very cool.
So a question from the chat room. It says, are there places, and I know this is going to be a long answer, but probably an easy one. Are there places to camp or hotel along these trails, or just do day trips?
Both.
Yes, both. We actually, and I know she'll be able to tell you a whole lot more. We actually had an event in May here local, and one of the first families actually finished it. So there are a lot of groups that will take a spring break or summer vacation and go the whole trip and do all the geocaches on the tour. I know Joanne will probably be able to tell you where all of them are, 'cause she's probably stayed at every hotel along the route.
That's funny.
And
that's not common,
which
right?
ones are the best.
Yeah, I can do that. And which restaurants are the best? With the Santa Fe Trail, you're going from city environment through very small towns to villages. So you have a wide variety. What you need to do is you need to look at that Geo Tour and then start thinking in your mind of the towns that are closest to that. But you can go the entire length and stay in a Roadway Inn, a Comfort Inn, a Holiday Inn Express without any problem. If you like to camp, there's campgrounds all along this. Now, everyone needs to understand that the Santa Fe National Historic Trail is not a trail that is set up for hiking on private property. It is all public access, and much of it you have to follow county roads in order to get close to it. Because, for example, the trail goes through pasture land. It goes next to the Arkansas River. It goes through area where right now they just finished cutting wheat or they have soybeans planted. So it is not theoretically possible to do the entire trail right on top of the historic route. So what you have to do is you have to go as close to it as possible, and that's where we have laid it out. And with these GPS points at those 73 places along the trail, you can follow it very well. And with each site, we wanted them to either see the actual remnants of the trail or some other facet of the trail. For example, in Kansas, we have a place called French Franks, and it was a trading post. Has some wonderful ruts that you can look in the pasture and see those today. You can look across and see cattle. So for a lot of people, it's wonderful to get out and see the prairie. And then we have interpretive panels there so that they can read about what French Franks was and who the people were that were there.
Then you have Cache, Kansas, which is along the trail. So where else do you need to go?
Kansas. I love it.
Isn't that Kansas? Isn't that where she said they had the most trouble?
No,
Now, I do have to say one thing. The word caches, that is so Santa Fe Trail. Clear back in the early part of the Santa Fe Trail, we had a group of traders who were coming back from Santa Fe, and they got caught in a terrible blizzard out by Dodge City, Kansas. So bad that the animals froze, and so they had to do something unusual. They had to dig holes and pits and bury all their silver and gold and their furs that they had with them, and that was the first cache on the Santa Fe Trail.
That's true.
And we have a cache at the caches. So of all the places you need to go, that is the spot.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
I wish it looked today like it did historically. Today it is a modern farm and there are cattle pens there, but at least we have a limestone marker and there's interpretation to tell about it. But that was one of the original caches. They were saving their goods. They went back to Taos, got some more livestock, and then they came back and got their goods. So don't bother looking for gold and silver. It's all been taken.
Exactly.
Do you happen to know what the GC on that one is? People are asking about that one.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've got it.
I can look that up. It's right out of the city. Okay.
Yeah, it's GC4 terrain difficulty 1-8, and I'll put it in the chat room. Okay, good. It's called the caches.
Well, there you go. So it's hard to understand that one, yeah. Now we were talking about virtual caches, all those unused virtual caches, virtual rewards at the beginning of the show. Right. I can think of a good use of about 2,000 of those right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Right along this trail, right?
Oh, you bet. Well, in fact, there is a virtual at the other caches marker down by the highway. There's a virtual there. That's why we moved our cache up to the site of the original.
One of the old original virtual caches is down there. So,
wow.
Oh, very cool. So if anybody needs to hide their virtual, there's a big Santa Fe Trail that could use some.
Contact us. We'll be able to help you out on that one.
Yeah. All right, so we are switching gears now. We're going to talk about the Santa Fe Trail a little bit, and I want to kind of bring it up because I find this fascinating because I don't want every Geo Tour to do this because it's over a long area, but I love the fact that this one is out there, and this is one that Slinky Mom and we've got to do this because it is.
This is one on our list too.
It is amazing. So let me show this because I find it really.
It's got a few caches.
It's got a few caches. Here's all so there they are, folks. If you're watching, and we'll discuss them obviously, but so Joanne, how did this all, and Ryan pitch in obviously too, but how did all this come about? I mean, look at there's tons of caches. It goes from we talked about this before the show. So it starts Franklin, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. That's where William Becknell lived at the time that he was the first one to pack up his horses along with 6 other guys, and they took off in 1821 and headed down the trail. At the time, they were going to trade for with the Indians, and they were going to look for horses, but they also had in mind to try to get to New Mexico. At that time, it was still under Spanish rule, but by the time they arrived out there, they've had a little revolution, and they were welcomed into Santa Fe, and history is made right there.
Wow.
So that's 1821, which, as a side note, we're getting ready to celebrate our 200th anniversary of the Santa Fe Trail. So
yeah, 2021.
Yeah, we've got lots of activities that'll be going on throughout the year, and that is what we're looking at, adding some extra geocaches, maybe some mini tours, so that if somebody can only do a day trip, then they can maybe pick up a few more.
Right.
Very cool.
And we'll talk about some of the ones in between, but from there all the way out, and we'll talk about this little thing right here that I pointed to, the little Colorado branch, but it goes all the way out to La Fonda.
Yeah, La Fonda Hotel at the plaza is the end of the Santa Fe Trail.
And it's got a lot of favorite points, 218 favorite points.
And this is this is unusual because it's in a business, but we got special permission for it. We said, you know, the plaza is just the most historic place that we have to have a cache. And there were already several caches set, so we couldn't get close enough. And we asked this business if they would be willing to house it in there, and they understood what they were getting into, and we got special permission. And I'll tell you what, that business loves it. The people come in there. A lot of these people said we never would have gone into the La Fonda because they feel like it might be too fancy for them, and they're in their jeans and t-shirts. But once they get in there, they understand how friendly everyone is. And then they decide to stay and have a drink in the bar or a meal in the restaurant. And some of them have even decided to just stay overnight there. So it has worked well for the business themselves. And I think people are really surprised when they walk in there, because I think a lot of people are intimidated by some of the businesses around the plaza, that they might feel that they don't belong, but they do. It's a very warm and very well received business. So
very cool.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, so there's people in here that they're holding they're like, there they are, they're inside the place, they're holding the cash. So that's awesome.
And I'll tell you, that staff is wonderful. People walk up to them, you know, and they kind of say, is there a geocache here? And they're so happy to give them that. They're really good.
That's awesome.
So how many caches are along this trail so far?
So far, 73 that are set.
So that is so far.
Yeah, because we're looking at, especially in Colorado, we're looking at a little segment north of Trinidad where we can add 6 more. And then we have some other sites along the trail that we've noticed. When we first set them, there was another cache too close, so we couldn't get that spot. Well, we've kind of noticed now some of those have been either archived or retired or whatever they do with them. So we're going to swoop in and see if we can't get that location. When we set out to pick these locations, there are so many landmarks along the Santa Fe Trail, places like Pawnee Rock. There are 5 different landmarks known as Point of Rocks, some in Kansas, one in New Mexico, one down in the Cimarron grasslands, and several places where the traders would camp, such as like McNeese Crossing or Springs. And then there's trading ranches. And then, of course, there's places like Fort Larned. So we tried to pick out places that had some very significant arrangement with the trail, something that we could interpret, that we could bring people to, that they could see, because there's an awful lot of trail where you don't see much of anything, just wide open fields or prairie. And we wanted to try and make it enjoyable for the people doing this tour.
Just for the history alone, it sounds like a good family trip.
Oh, it's a wonderful family trip. And speaking of that, on our website, you'll also find information about something called Junior Wagon Master. And these are educational booklets that the kids can grab. They're age appropriate. There's 4 different levels, and they have a variety of activities that they can do as they travel along the trail. And then when they complete the section, they can get a patch, and there's 4 different patches available. If you scroll down, you'll see those patches.
They're right here.
There. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's another activity that a lot of people are doing at the same time they're doing this Geo Tour.
Heck yeah, I would too.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, for the kids, not for me, of course.
Jesse, you already have a trip set for next summer.
That's what it looks like. See, I didn't even set up the trip. Mafia wife. It's the reverse. It works.
I will work on getting speakers for the bus trip.
There we go.
Yeah. The same ladies that help with this Junior Wagon Master, they're our education committee, and they take kids from a little school here in Kansas called Rock Creek. It's near Wamego, and they've taken over 1,000 kids on the Santa Fe Trail on a bus trip. They do it every other year, and they start up here in the Kansas City area, and they go all the way to Santa Fe. So there you go. We can help you out with bus trip. As they go along, our chapters will host them, and they'll do everything from cook them hamburgers for supper or bring them out cookies and Kool-Aid, whatever needs to be done. Those chapters really, they're very generous about helping out. Some of them provide a speaker at a site, for example, at Pawnee Rock. So
this would be great.
Yep.
See, I got cheated in school. I just went to the local zoo. They get to go along the whole Santa Fe Trail. So,
and they camp the whole time. They take their tents and they're camping the whole time.
That's awesome.
I think that'd be a great
bus idea.
I think that's a great bicentennial event for the Santa Fe Trail to do a geocache talk.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Big old tour. Oh, I like it.
Oh man, yeah. Yes.
I'll take that down as a note.
Yeah.
Write it down, so it must be done.
Right. Write it down, Joanne.
I got
73 geocaches, and it's how many states?
5 states.
That's pretty impressive Geo Tour.
Yeah. It was a big undertaking, especially for me, who had no experience whatsoever with geocaching at all. So I had to teach myself not only about geocaching, but how the heck do you set a geocache,
right.
The process of writing that up, of getting it reviewed. And like I said, those reviewers are wonderful people. They're
awesome.
so kind and patient. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, that is awesome. All right, we're going to take a moment to do a giveaway. So, Ryan, what? There it is. So we got our first coin tonight. Is this really cool National Trail System 50-year coin?
And for those who don't know me, I'm a big guy, so it's a big coin.
It's a big coin. Well, I like that you sent me a photo next to a quarter because it dwarfs a quarter.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give away a second one for our audio listeners, and we'll provide you the audio question here in a moment. And oh, by the way, from last week's, if you're listening in from Joshua's, I'll give you the answer to that person here in a minute. So we're kind of mixing things. Well, I'll give you the answer to that one in a minute. First, I got to give you the question for tonight's giveaway. So get ready in the chat room. And Tim, you can't win one again. You won last week, buddy. So if he's in the chat room, tell him sorry, man. You can't win 2 weeks in a row. So I don't know if Tim Terrell's in there or not, but anyway. All right. So get your fingers ready to answer this question. Oh, what was Coon and Buzz like? Oh, okay. Yep. Great coin. Yeah, it is a great coin. All right. So Jesse, keep an eye on it. So, and Ryan, you can too. But the question is, all the Geo Tours have a number. What is the Santa Fe Geo Tours GT number? So they all have a Geo Tour.
Do they need to put GT in front?
Yeah, GT. What is it called? Because that's the full name of it. It's GT something. So,
nope. Guesses are coming in. Oh, somebody's close.
Nope.
You're close. Nope.
Cool.
So,
close.
They're working on it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, Scott's
They got
got
it.
it. Good
They're
job.
just typing too fast.
Oh, somebody got it there.
Scott,
Oh,
Yeah.
Valena was close. Everybody else is starting to get them a
now
little
they're
bit.
all coming in.
Y'all could stop. GT34.
Yeah.
GT34.
I like Heather's answer. Santa Fe Trail Geocaching Tour.
Yeah, Jesse's. Well, you got it now, Jesse. It's too late now, buddy.
Well, Jesse did make the Geocoin, so.
Oh, did he?
Yep. It's another one that he's made.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, he also provided Joshua with that other thing. So,
So
all
that's
right.
2 weeks in a row made by Jesse Tuttle. That's just.
Yeah.
How about
We
that?
think, Jesse, we really like this. It's really nice.
We
had to get special permission from the National Park Service to use this Santa Fe National Historic Trail because it is trademarked, and
right.
You can't just use that any way you want it. You have to have special permission. Each one of the national trails has a logo similar to this, an arrowhead type thing with a specific logo. So this is ours, the Santa Fe.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. All right. Okay. So I'll give the other answer here in a moment. So let's talk. Like I said, we're going to talk for the next few minutes about the tour. So, Jesse, I think you probably had some questions that you wanted to throw out while I got the person I need to go grab their information. So go ahead and ask some questions if you would.
The big thing about this tour was, is one that now that you've done this big thing, you've mentioned people are going to go do it and everything else, but also other groups hopefully will take your lead and spread these tours in other places too, right? And you probably have some advice for them if these groups were to reach out.
Yes, I would be very happy to talk to anybody that would ever consider doing this because, like I said, I knew nothing about it and I learned so much, and a lot of it was trial and error. The first thing, when we set these geocaches, we used ammo boxes. I live fairly close to Fort Riley, so we were able to get these ammo boxes at that time fairly inexpensive. And the reason why we used them was 2 reasons. We wanted to include nice swag so that people would enjoy getting them. And we do get a lot of good comments that we have some really sweet swag. But the other thing is we wanted to provide some information about the trail as they traveled, because we have a wonderful map of the Santa Fe Trail. And we felt, we didn't want to bring somebody to say French Frank's site and then they be lost. So we wanted to include that so that they could pull that out and not only follow the GPS points, but look at this whole map so they can be oriented to the entire trail. But we've learned that most people don't want to pick up any information. They don't want to take that with them. They're able to either follow a QR code or go to our website and get that information. So in some cases now we have started going to some smaller canisters, and maybe you guys can tell me, why do they call those things bison containers?
Oh, Gary, you know this answer.
Yep,
Yeah. The company that originally made them, Joanne, was the name of the company. Bison.
Okay.
Was their first
Their name. So. Well, we have found that in our trouble sites where there's some ornery muggles out there that like to steal the ammo can. I think they think it's probably big enough for a 6-pack or something. I don't know. They like to swing by and steal those. So in places that we have had trouble with them getting stolen, we found those larger bison containers work really, really good, and we can conceal them fairly well. But yet it leaves us big enough that we can put some good swag in there with a logbook. And so I think we will never go smaller than that. I know that there's a lot of micros and other sizes, but I think it's more important that when those kids come and they get that cache and they open it up and they see that there's something in there for them, we want them to feel like they've hit the treasure chest. We want them to really enjoy that experience and take it away and remember that for the rest of their life. And then we really hope when they get a little older that they'll join our group, because if we don't keep getting new members, we're going to die out. And I mean that literally, because our members are, I'm 63 and I'm one of the youngest. So, and I've been doing this for 30 years. So it's an aging group and I don't want to lose it. So we do need new members to keep new programs going. And the geocaching has been so popular that even those that were naysayers at the beginning have turned around and they've said, yep, you were right. It's a good program.
And to piggyback on that, like I said, I've been with the Santa Fe tours now for, since right before MOGA, my MOGA. And it has increased the willing to learn through even the Santa Fe Association, because I'm actually going on a trip in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I can't go up South Dakota with you, Jesse, but I am taking just to show you the length of the trip. For those who don't know, I'm Eastern Central Kansas. I'm taking about a 6-hour trip without geocaching. So, it's going to be about an 18-hour trip down to the southwest corner of Kansas to teach a geocaching class during one of their chapter meetings. So they definitely, and of course, I'm picking up all the counties along the way. So
of course,
there you go. Excellent.
It helps me with one of my goals for the year to finish the Kansas counties. So
perfect.
Now, and I know we got to wrap up before too long, but we mentioned, and you talked about people would take this on a vacation. They would take a vacation and go and knock out the whole trail, but that's not the normal, right? People don't have to go and knock this whole trail out at one time. They can go and do whatever sections that they're capable of doing or have time to do, right?
That's correct. We've had several people who log in and tell us that they do like a day trip or a weekend trip. Some of them will come from Kansas City and get maybe as far as McPherson and then go back. They can break it up however they want. What we do have is a passport activity that goes with us. And as they go to each cache, when they look in the lid of the geocache container, there will be a code word in there. And then they put that into the passport. And in order to get a challenge coin, all they have to do is visit at least 50 of these caches and get that code word and then send it in, and we'll send them a challenge coin.
Very cool. And I think you're right around 1,000 points in that favorite points now on this trail.
I think so. I think Ryan had it up here. It was 994 or something like that.
Yeah, you're right at it. That's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, that's a pretty good accomplishment.
So if
1,000 favorite points is a lot.
Yeah, if everybody out there would give us a favorite point tonight.
Right. Perfect.
So how many people have actually, and you may not even know this, but how many people have actually completed the whole trail?
Well, when we did our report for have completed all 73 caches. Gosh, I don't have that figure right with me, but we do have some. I would say at least 100 have done that.
Oh, wow.
We've given out several of those challenge coins, and some of those did 50, but some of them did all 73.
And with the new souvenirs that they just gave out for the Geo Tours, Santa Fe Trail is a part of that. And I do know just in my out and abouts, when they first came out, because it was during a little Geo Woodstock, talked to a lot of people because Santa Fe Trails did have a table at Woodstock. I talked to at least 10 to 15 people who did have the souvenir. So you had to finish all 73 to get the souvenir.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
And that's a lot of mileage they're covering. You put out a trail, though, and attach one of those little digital souvenirs to it, and geocachers will do crazy things for it.
Yeah. if they go the entire trail, it's going to be 1,100 miles.
Woo!
Awesome.
Geocachers will do it, and they'll continue to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very memorable. Make sure you spend a good portion of your time at Bent's Old Fort in Colorado. This really illustrates the variety of cultures that we're using the Santa Fe Trail. It's just an unbelievable experience out there. And
yeah, you're right, Joanne.
Every place along the trail is dynamic. But if I could recommend one place that illustrates the cultures, it would be Bent's Old Fort.
Actually, the number we had for the favorites was an old number. I think it was maybe even been from the last time we were supposed to be on. We're actually at 1,088 favorite points.
Awesome.
Nice.
We are over 1,000 points. So
wow, that's awesome.
That's an accomplishment. That's the big time.
Good deal.
Yeah,
It's good to hear. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you make a note of that one. That's great.
Yeah, I'll report that.
Yeah, because with something like this, so you're right, Joanne. There's something like this is interesting because you cross over so many different ecosystems and you cross over so much history of what's going on that you kind of it would be really cool if you can. It'd be cool to do the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
you get a feel for a part of the country, it's actually different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Well, when it began, it was two nations. It was, the United States and Spain.
Right.
So it was two different nations. And you are right about the ecology, because you go from the Missouri River area, then you go out into the tall grass prairie. That's unbelievable. I guarantee if you go in May, you will be impressed. And then you get out into the more central plains, then the desert region, and then the mountains. So it's just a wonderful experience to see all of that.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. We're wrapping up. We're going to have to start the wrap up time. I do want to mention last week we had an audio question, and we had a ton of people put in for the answer to what Joshua provided to us. And with the question was about the mannequin, what the number was on the mannequin. And so random.org picked Debbie Putman, if I can get that right. Her name is Lady Grace 331. So Debbie, I'll send you a note, but if you listen, send me a note, and I will get Debbie get you the information so we can get you. Oh, was she really? Okay.
Yeah, I saw her earlier.
I saw her name there.
Okay, if she's in there, so she might.
Well, she's got a prize coming, so.
Yep.
Yeah, she got a prize coming. Very cool. So thanks, Debbie. You were selected. The random.org God or gods, what the pantheon of random.org. We joke about that. Selected. So, all right. So we got another one. We got one more coin we're going to give away. And you need to send me the answer to the following question. Yep. And you'll need to send it to me before. Hang on. Let me get my.
Debbie is still in that room.
Oh, is she cool? Way to go, Debbie. So email me your mailing address. I got Scott's, by the way, Ryan. I'll give you that. So email me this information. I'll get to Joshua. Joshua will send you that a very special German tag that nobody in the U.S. has. So it's really cool to have that. Only the Germans got those. So that's kind of cool. Very exclusive. Okay, so this week I'll need your answer before midnight on July 7th. Wow, the year is traveling on, isn't it?
Yes.
July 7th. So I need the answer to this question before July 7th.
Not in the chat room.
Not in the chat room. Not going to do you any good. So you got to email us at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Send us the answer to this question, which is, and we talked about it earlier, but what is the furthest west Geo Tour geocache on the Santa Fe Geo Tour? So send me that information. Send me the name of that or the GC code to that. The furthest west, not the furthest east. We talked about that one too, but I want to know the one that's the furthest west on the Geo Tour. So send me that at geocachetalk@gmail.com. So, all right. Well, we're kind of starting to wrap up. I'm going to, I guess, let me throw it first over to Jesse, and then Ryan and Joanne start thinking about what your final thoughts are on that. But let me start with Jesse. What are some of your final thoughts tonight?
So as I briefly mentioned earlier, I love the fact that national parks and national trails are now starting to work with geocaching, and there's a positive way for that relationship to happen. And I hope that continues. I love the work that y'all are doing with this. and it gets people possibly, gets people more interested in going to some of these national parks and doing some of these national trails that never would have crossed that path before. That was a bad pun there, but and anything that's gonna, make history. I'm not a history guy, right? My wife loves it, but if this, I can do something else with this, and now history all of a sudden becomes exciting because I get to put my hands on things or I get to walk the trail. That's when history is exciting to me. So I think this is great.
You will be a history guy when you do the Santa Fe Geo Tour. You will be.
I may turn into a history guy then. So
right there you go.
You'll be surprised. I can't wait to have you do it. I'll be glad to hear what you think of it.
Right. Well, it sounds like we're going to get a big bus and take everybody out there. So
okay,
awesome, perfect. All right, so Ryan, Joanne, I don't care whichever wants to start, but give us kind of final thoughts on what we talked about. So.
Ladies first.
Well, I just hope everybody will take the time. If you can't physically get to the Santa Fe Geo Tour, at least visit the website and look at the different geocaches and their location. For those that do actually visit, be sure and message me or send us your logs. And if you do need assistance when you're out there, do contact us, because there are some places that you have to watch the weather. You don't want to get mudded in. You have to be prepared for varmints and critters. And so it isn't, it isn't city all the way, and it isn't paved roads at all. So be prepared. Bug spray, all that stuff. Be prepared. And we are there to help. We do have people throughout the length of the trail. If you do get into trouble, we can help you out.
Cool. Well,
we don't want anybody to be afraid. We have friends everywhere.
Oh, well, great, Joanne. Man, we really do appreciate that. Ryan?
And again, the National Park Service, I've actually had the privilege of talking to quite a few of them through this trail, and then through some of the other jobs that I've done within geocaching. I talked to some out in Virginia when I was doing a Woodstock. They were one of the advertisers for the FTF magazine and stuff like that. National Park Services and even just the National Trail System, they're very supportive of geocaching, just you have to talk to them. One thing I do want to put out there is, even if you don't get to go to the Santa Fe Trail, with the 50th anniversary of National Trail System, we covered almost all of them. I can't do math, but was it 30 different national trails, historic and scenic? Yeah. They do have a website out there just celebrating the 50th, the 50 years anniversary of it at the nps.gov. Just go out and enjoy some of the trails.
Right. That one, and of course, trails50.org.
Yep.
Is that a cool?
So, but yeah, I love history. So I guess, Jesse, you can sit on a bus, find geocache. We'll listen to the history. We're on the bus together.
That's awesome.
No, we'll get him.
I've always loved history, and joining forces with the Santa Fe Trail has always, it's been a blessing to assist them in doing what we do. Because I love geocaching, and again, I love history. So bringing these two loves and passions together, it's just been amazing. And like we were saying earlier, 2021 is coming quickly. And if I have anything to say, I know geocaching will be a big part of the 200th celebration. So maybe we'll come back on just so
absolutely.
That's a topic for another show.
That's right.
I know Tom needs to drink at least once. So, but yeah, we are looking at doing as many things as we can for the 200th commemoration. Yeah. It's not worth celebrating. It's definitely a commemoration. So look for things to come. We've already talked about possibly new caches, maybe even new Geo Tour legs, new small Geo Tours. Maybe even a Geocoin or two. So like you saw earlier, we had this one, but you may see a new one in the future. So definitely reach out to the Santa Fe Trail or any local organizations because they're always looking at something to do. So that's my piece of advice, just reach out to these groups that need some help, because Joanne did a wonderful job, but with a little help of a geocacher, it probably made her life a lot easier.
Yes.
So,
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. Good point. Yeah. Yeah. So, some couple of my final thoughts is, again, Joanne, thank you so much, and Ryan for being on tonight to tell us about this. Get people excited about, the Santa Fe tour. Obviously, I'm a huge fan. I really want to do that one, but I think we've also, hopefully, people realize there are several trails that you can go be a part of and really enjoy. And yeah, there you go. There's Ryan shows a bunch of them. But that's and as Joanne commented, the fact that if you live near one of the National Historic Trails that doesn't have a Geo Tour, or doesn't have even really what you feel like is enough geocaching exposure, contact the local, go check and figure out who the National Historic Trail Association is, and get in touch with them and just say, hey, I'm a geocacher. I'm willing to help if you need, if you need some advice or some ideas, or, if whatever I can do to be involved. So get involved. I kind of say this too to people who geocache but don't ever put out a cache. I'm like, how do you think these geocaches get out there? Little elves aren't putting these geocaches out. They're not.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So it kind of sort of gets into my, Jess and I are really big about, you need to put out geocaches, not just go do geocaching. You really need to be part of the process, and not just, we want you to go geocaching. We want you to also be part of it. And I think we've talked about before that until you really put a geocache out, I don't think you really appreciate, right? Jesse, is that a good way to put it?
That.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really, Joanne's done them. She knows now that there's some effort that goes into putting these out. So, but it's rewarding, right? You feel like it's
yes, definitely. When you get those logs back and people tell you that this made their day, that this was the best trip their family has ever taken, that's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, coming up with the show next week, we've got Nick from Cashley will be on. He's going to talk about, it's actually now 4.3.3, and I guess we're just going to call it 4.3 and beyond, because he's doing lots of updates. But really, it's version 4.3, and we're going to talk about Apple Watch and other cool stuff that Cashley's involved with. So even if you're not a iOS user, I think you're going to gain a lot from our conversation. You also get to hear about Jesse being in Wyoming, so this is going to be kind of cool. Get updates on him.
Don't know where I'm going to be broadcasting from, but somewhere in Wyoming. So
somewhere in Wyoming. So
where in the world is Memphis Mafia?
Absolutely.
Right.
Who knows? He won't be.
I've seen flat Jesse's around. He's never going to
keep showing up.
Just keeps showing up, doesn't it? So, all right. Yeah, Flat Jesse. Who knows where he'll be next? Okay, then in 2 weeks on July 15th, show 107, I have a special co-host. Jamie Pullman's going to be on Stardust ZZZ, and we have a special guest that we're going to have on that night. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be very exciting. Jesse will be out in South Dakota, so he may or may not. We've kind of got Jamie filling in because we don't know if Jesse makes it. He makes it. If he doesn't, we got to fill in for him. So we're set. Yeah, the Flat Jesse will fill in. Right, doesn't say much. No, we don't want that. We got Jamie. Jamie's going to be on. Jamie's going to be part of it. So for one night, she's going to help co-host. So it'll be fun. Be a great night. And then in 3 weeks, the big reveal.
Talking about something.
We're going to talk about something. Something big in 3 weeks.
So you've only got 3 weeks not to spill the beans.
I know.
Yeah, Gary, you can make it to the end.
I know. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not because it's just, I haven't told anyone. Although I've had, you know, I'm going crazy. But I'll get to spill the beans in a sense in 3 weeks because we can only talk about part of it. We can't really talk about all of it. We're going to do enough of the reveal to get the
people will know what it is.
Yes, the reveal will be where it's a kickoff. The big kickoff.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Well, thanks, folks. I hope you enjoy the show tonight. Email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com, and we really love your emails and your thoughts, your comments. Is very Jesse, I love reading those. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at geocachetalk, at Gary Slinkard, all one word, at Memphis_Mafia. We've been doing a lot of Instagram lately, Geocache Talk, one word, or Memphis Mafia, all one word. I know Jesse's been, Instagram's kind of blown up for you, hasn't it?
It's fun. People really connect quick. Just like last week, I got all kinds of information off of there. So it was great.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. Yeah. So definitely follow that. You'll get a lot of cool information that we don't really share on the show. You'll get to see some photos that we don't share anywhere else on Instagram. So definitely follow us there. And also our Facebook page, facebook.com/Geocache Talk. Show can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button below. And I think I'm pointing this time in the right location. So there we go. And yeah, there you go. And so, and by doing that, you'll get a reminder on a weekly basis of when we are on. And tell your friends about the show. Tell them to join in the chat room or at least listen to audio when you're tooling around town or geocaching or whatever. So, all right, until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. Go check out a national park and a national historical trail and a national Geo Tour, especially the Santa Fe one if you can. And go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.